Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you on Monday, October the 14th. The year's 2024. Let's talk trading. Weekly open and gap. As always, these videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. And a friendly reminder, risk management. Never lose more than you're willing to lose on any one single trade. So far this week, the pound has dropped 7 pips from the weekly open. And taking a look at the dashboard, we have a couple of pairs that have not filled the gap. In fact, I see 3 pairs: New Zealand US dollar, Australian US dollar, Australian CAD. We're 22 pips off the high for the pound, now 23, and 19 off the low. So we can see just by looking at those two numbers, we have another muted range day. For the month, taking a quick look here, you can see we're in the lower wick zone of the previous month. We are 316 pips off the open, monthly open. 339 off the close, 29 off the low. Notice the yen's almost back up to 150. The dollar yen, that is. We're putting in the opening range for the week, and we are still below the opening range for the month and above the opening range for the year. And if you take a look to the left here, what do you see, traders? You see a place where a price just may turn around, but if it breaks this level, it could be all she wrote. So if it breaks the 130 level, $1.30, that could be it. Looking at the year, 341 off the open, 381 off the high, and 754 off the low. Inside bar, we had an inside bar Friday. We actually broke through that inside bar low at 1.30417, so call it 41, and we were back in that inside bar range. Lots of inside bar action across the board according to the dashboard. I see a big range bar here on the daily. Speaking of ranges, no pair over 100 today. Something to note, it's a bank holiday here in the U.S. It's Indigenous Peoples Day, used to be known as Columbus Day. So that's probably why we're having a muted day, or one of the reasons. Now you can see we've been crisscrossing that weekly open, hitting the buy zone, hitting the short zone, just, maybe a handful of pips if you're lucky. And range is too low for the rats. All the biases right now are saying short. Bambino Flex indicator said to go long. Pivot trading plan price near the pivot was short. So you can see here we got we crossed the pivot, came back down, hit it, and there was a nice short. Bias near S1 is long. We actually, looks like we got halfway between S1 and S2, but you can see we crossed S1. So once again, sometimes just having a simple trading plan can prove to be profitable. And I'm not sure, any of you traders using the pivots in any way, shape, or form? I haven't heard back from anybody about using pivots. It's one of the things I like to use as a direction because of the statistics, you know, the infrequency of missed pivots. And so we've got the weekly pivots open. Last week's is open, so we've got 2 missed pivots so far this month. Weekly pivots. We've already taken out the monthly pivot. But you can see we're putting weekly pivots are all within say a week's range. If we pop out, we should take out maybe 1 if not 2 pivots. The wick zone, in and out of the upper right here, in and out of the lower a couple of times. Once again, 70%. And somebody was asking about, you know, which method I use, and I just say horizontal lines. I mean, wick zone, buy zone, rat zone, they're pretty much all horizontal lines. And, you know, based on what you see at the moment, you might employ 1 or more of those lines to take a trade. And in fact, there was somebody out on YouTube was saying something about context and you can make an EA. And the thing is, you know, there's people, I'm sure there must be people who have written EAs that are profitable. Not sure what they're doing, but the fact is that you really have to have an EA that's simple on the one hand, but sophisticated on the other. In other words, when it trades in terms of time of day, it has to have that sophistication built in it. It needs to know whether or not just to take a couple of pips or to stay in the trade longer. And whether or not you traded on more than one instrument or a basket of instruments. There's just so much into it. So to say that, oh, well, if this method, blah, 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 EA, no, it doesn't quite work that way. Because, for example, we say look left. Yeah, you can put the code in and say, yeah, look left. How, in fact, I've written it. Let's see, there's it's one of the, I think there's the above below indicator, the how many times this level's been hit indicator. There's the crossover indicator. Bunch of those indicators that I wrote. You could, you know, take that code, stick it in an EA, but I mean, to come up with a, you know, with that all codified into one thing, I'm not saying it can't be done, but the problem is maybe by the time you get it done and it's working, something may have changed in the market. Like, for example, with the pound, or a lot of the pairs, the range is muted. So now you got to go back to the drawing board unless it's self-adjusting, self-correcting. So, and the other thing is, you know, we're talking about having these EAs running on PCs. I mean, you're up against the big boys with, you know, supercomputers and server farms. It's almost it's one of those. It's almost a folly to think you're going to be able to compete with those guys, with those traders and their equipment and I mean, just their ping time alone. They've got their servers right next to the bank servers. I just have to say, you know, trying to dismiss, you know, somebody's work because they haven't done it in an EA. You know, that's just not a valid point. It really isn't. Okay. Oh, we were looking at the ranges. We're just opening the week. You can see here, there's not much to be said at the moment. Looking at the simple price action chart, see a couple outside bars in a row. You can see a break here, another outside bar. You can see that broke to the downside. Right here you can see it. There was a possible turn trade or flip-flop box. Same thing here, flip-flop box. Even on M30 to the south, another flip-flop box here to the north. Even on the 30-minute time frame, you can apply those methods. You know, higher low, lower high, you can see right here. We had one coming off a 2-ball. Nice move to the downside, good for a few pips. We had a, right here, we had a lower high. You know, I'm thinking of something here. Maybe, oh, I think I was thinking I should maybe use a thicker line or a different line, but I don't know if that's necessary. But here you had a lower high to the north, good for a couple of pips, came back down, double dipped. And you know, this is a pattern that we see. A lot of times you can see it ranged from this level to this level. Just look at those candle bodies here, and you see that range. So you know, it went up, came back down, same trigger, goes up again, then it started to range here. And then onward and upward. Who knows, there might have been a big range bar to take advantage of. I should probably move this screen off because somebody was asking about, you know, the hours, which the best hours to trade, and that's usually pretty obvious. But you know, oh, and I made a adjustment to the big range bar indicator over the weekend. You can see here, if prices come back and touched it or crossed it, it becomes a dotted line. If it hasn't, it stays solid, so you know whether or not it's already been taken out. Oh, and just to let everybody know, I spoke with Walmall. He's still amongst the living, and but he's got to take it kind of easy. So I don't know if he'll be joining us this week or not. I'm just glad he's okay. Let's see here. We like to look at the week. We are lower high, higher low, inside bar today. Fade the pivot on a buy, but we're below. Wow, 3 opens or 3 reds in a row here. Yeah, we crossed below the weekly open. Sellers are in strong control inside that lower wick zone from the previous week. So that's about it. So, fellow traders, I hope you had a fun and safe weekend. And, you know, feel free to ask questions, make comments. Oh, yeah, and there was one other trader that had asked about, you know, the profit, you know, when to take profit. And I said, stick with your plan. And they go, well, their plan's not working. Well, then you have to adjust your plan. Sometimes it might just be a 1 pip move in one direction or the other. And that might be the difference between, you know, profit and loss, because it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.